Elite in year one, how Aaron Simac cracked the code on insurance growth.
Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your hosts, David and Al Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because, let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together.
Welcome back to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast. If you're someone who didn't come from the corporate world, or you've ever wondered if grit and systems could replace traditional leads, this is your episode. But first, before we dive in, you can get all the resources, all the goodies, the show notes, everything we've got put together for you, as well as how to connect with our guests by going to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast. Head over there, grab everything we got for you as we get ready to dive in today. So our guest today is Aaron Simac. He's an Allstate agency owner who went elite right out the gate, coming from a background in the trades and business ownership. He's scrappy, strategic, and using tech and common sense to grow smarter. So let's dive in. Welcome, Aaron. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Dave. Thanks so much for having me on. So, I bought my agency about a year and a half ago, August of 23, and then we kind of really hit our stride going through 24, and we were able to make elite that first year. So it was a lot to learn. A lot of stuff I brought from the trades helped, and a lot of stuff I thought would help did not. So some of the experiences I thought would translate and transfer did not, but some did. So, but we had a lot of help and a lot of advice. It's a really neat community. No gatekeepers. There's a ton of people willing to help everybody new and getting started out. So it was pretty exciting. So it would, here we are now, and I get to be on a pretty cool podcast. So thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time, and tell me a little bit about that. Like what were you doing on the trade side, and what did that kind of life look like, and what had you move into the insurance game?
So I had a buddy that was a State Farm agent for years. He did my business insurance for me when I was doing HVAC and electrical work. And it's something we'd always looked at. He always looked at setting up a different agency to leverage some of the opportunities with his, and it just never worked out, but we never stopped talking about it. I had kids and I had bills to pay and stuff to do that. So I can live on a little bit while I'm trying to build something, but it was a little too much to ask them to do that. So I worked in the office and in the field. So there were times I wore tools, and there was times I was in the office doing sales and training and follow-up and stuff like that. So it was a really good experience. I had some great bosses that were real good to let me kind of run things my way, let me learn a lot of stuff. And you pick up a lot, and a lot of people gave good advice. Hey, have you read this book yet? Have you looked at this? My training was the trades. I learned how to do HVAC and electrical. I didn't know anything about bookkeeping or anything like. This is gonna sound funny, but like when I first started, I thought, if I could make $75,000 a year, that would really be cool. And so I worked backwards. Okay, I need to make this much an hour, and that's how I set my prices, and I got crushed. So luckily a guy I met said, here, why don't you read these books and go from there. So, but there's a lot of similarities. You have to manage service techs instead of LSPs, and you have to manage, people that do the scheduling the same as you manage your your CSRs. So you have to worry about marketing all the time, and marketing's way more aggressive in insurance than it was in the trades.
And from those books that you referenced, were there any particular ones that stood out, or that you found most helpful in both either side, from the trades or from the insurance side?
So the original one was E-Myth. That was the first one that was given. Yeah, E-Myth was great. Jim Collins' Good to Great was great. Mm-hmm. There's another book from years ago, and I cannot find it. I gave it away. Tom Peters' Reimagine. was a great book at looking through things a different lens. Okay, just because you've done it this way every time doesn't mean you have to keep doing it this way every way. And I'm paranoid because it's been 20 years since I've been able to find that book, and I can't find it anywhere. But I just saw a friend of mine gave me the new Jim Collins book coming out, and I wish I'd have grabbed a copy of it. But he said, hey, he's still writing stuff, so take a look at that. And there's all the sales books, and I read a ton of Zig Ziglar stuff, and it was. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff, so I read a bunch of it. And then I got some accounting books, and those are pretty dry.
Yeah, I can imagine those are a little bit of light reading for fun, right, on the accounting side. But important things to know. I can't tell you how many agents or agencies I talk to is like, yeah, what's your P&L say? It's like, what's a P&L? I don't know. I sell stuff and buy stuff. Is that enough? It's like, no, it's like you need to know your numbers, like ultimately, because I think a lot of people say they're coming in to build a business, but they're not really doing all the things to build a business. So I love, especially on the P&C side, like with you, with Allstate, like, your numbers, your metrics, your P&L, your accounting on that side, and such a key aspect for how do I scale and grow and do so profitably as well, which we'll talk about a little bit on that side. But yes, some excellent books, and also highlighting things that's important for agents and agencies, not only the sales side, but the business side, operations, also even the marketing side, learning like copy and, psychology, what plays in both some of the sales and the marketing side, and team management side as well. So lots of really amazing things. So I love those are some of my favorite books on a few of those as well. And I'll have to check out that one you mentioned also. Now, coming back to kind of Elite Year One, can you mention a little bit what that means for those that might be unfamiliar with like the Allstate model?
So Allstate has their goals. They call them grids, and there's a number of ways you can get it. It's so much growth, so much retention, growth in the key things that they want. When Allstate's, probably like everybody is home and auto. So they set those metrics and say, if you do this, you can hit Elite. Well, Elite has some perks. You get higher commission. You get higher renewal commission. You can double up on your VC. So it's a big deal to hit Elite. And I was real lucky. I had a great sales leader, said, let's work it backwards. What do you need to do? Okay, that's what we need to do. So we tried to set the goals 10%. This sounds so funny saying it now. I thought setting it 10% higher was like being real risky, like really shooting for the moon there. And we were lucky to hit it. We had some good fortune, and we worked really hard and bumped our heads against the wall a bunch. I was lucky I got to keep my CSR, who'd been with the company 30 years when I bought it. She stayed on. And, bless her heart, she went through a lot teaching somebody that knew the trades how to do insurance. So she was really good to us. But we hit it with some room to spare. And we got to go to Kentucky this year for the Elite Conference with the Elite Allstate agents, which was really great. The conference was great. The coffee table before the conference started was better. Listening to agents that are 10 times your size was unbelievable. So we got some great info there too. I filled up a notebook with notes.
I love that, and do think the industry like that mastermind, that knowledge share, learning from those that are where you want to go, and giving back to those that are just getting started. Like, I think that's so key, and that's great to have the ability to sit down and have those conversations. And I definitely think the space could use a lot more of that as well. So that's awesome. And he did mention a really great tip, guys. When you have goals in your agency, or really in anything in life, is coming back and going backwards and breaking it down into things that you can accomplish by the month, by the week, even by the day, to work towards that, and much more manageable pieces, and also knowing what you need to hit as many goals to get you to your ultimate goal. So we know you referenced that a few times of working backwards, and that's absolutely how we do our goal setting as well. And it makes it much more manageable versus I want to end up at this. How am I going to get there? Versus, oh, now I know exactly what I need to do. So, so with that, like, was buying an existing book always the plan when you got started, and what kind of made you pull the trigger on that side?
I was in a position where I knew I could finally start to do something, so I started looking, talking to some different people. I had some real good friends in the business. And a buddy says, hey, there's a place for sale a little bit south of you. Give the guy a call. So I called, bought it from a guy named Martin Rule, who was been wonderful the whole process. Looked at him, started talking to some bankers. It was probably 8 month process, 9 months to start to finish. Once Martin and I figured out a price, the bank said, "Yeah, I think we could do that." Then you had to go through Allstate, and you had to pass all your interviews with Allstate. I would say that was a dozen. And the whole time, I was working as an industrial electrician at that time. So I was in a steel mill, on cranes at working nights, and then doing this during the day. So every step I thought, okay, this is the one where they're going to say no. This is the one where Allstate or the bank or somebody's going to say, no, we're not doing it. But we went through the interviews and was real genuine with all the Allstate people. They were great. They were real wonderful along the way. And eventually we got approved. I'd say we probably got approved May of 23, and we closed August 1st of 23. So even after approval, it still took some time. But then I put my 2 weeks in at the mill and then started training down here. Martin was an old school agent, so he'd been in the business 35 years. So, he started with the paper apps and everything. And he said, the business is passing me by. He says, I have enough energy. He says, I hate computers. I hate all this quoting. He goes, it's passed me by. He goes, I can't keep up. So it was, I didn't realize how important that what he said was, because in 2 years it's changed a bunch. Nobody was looking at ChatGPT 2 years ago, or it was a novelty. So ChatGPT's exploded, and now everything has an AI component. And it's pretty interesting to see where that's going to go. So I do a ton with that.
I feel like it's just getting started, right? And I definitely want to dive into that. But before we dive a little bit into the ChatGPT and AI and a lot of, the current technology, what we're looking at there, like that year one, what do you feel like really clicked for you or helped with hitting elite and that first year? Because a lot of agents, like, obviously it's a very big struggle. Some don't even make it past the first year or two. And what do you feel like really clicked for you that first year?
Systems. And I'm gonna pull back on that because we put a lot of systems in place and they were pretty rough, but we were putting them in. And then they'd fail and we'd improve them, and they'd fail and we'd improve them. And I think that's what helped. And then cheerleading the LSPs I had that year, they seem to like that. Stephanie's still here. She's working remote now. She was in the office, but she's back working remote. And she's really come a long ways to where, she's gotten a lot better. So I think being more of a cheerleader helped. Trying to stay on top of stuff helped. Admitting when you're wrong helped a lot. And then just, following up and being genuine with people. There was, I won't say who it was, but there's some sales systems that are really aggressive. They're really too pushy for me. We really did a lot better with the inform, educate, recommend way of going through things, but still following up, still calling a lot, and pushing for the no. That was a big one. Call till they tell you no. So that helped us a lot.
So I'm hearing not only just the systems you put in place, but having a system for putting systems in place, and going through, evaluating, correcting and everything. And that's so key. Like a lot of people are just, I'm just going to wing it and see what happens. Right. But you knew the importance of systems, especially from, growing business. Right. And then support and training for your team and cheering them on, the good culture on that side, it sounds like. So yeah, a few different things, very much so on that first year. So, and continuing on with the systems and what you were kind of referencing, you've been using ChatGPT, I know, for content, targeting emails. How's that changed the game when starting to leverage some very fast moving technology in the space?
So ChatGPT is crazy. You can pull in, everybody's got a CRM that has mails and follow-up mailers and emails and things like that. So if you don't know what a custom GPT is and you're hearing this, look up custom GPTs and look up GPT projects, and they'll help you out if you want to do something ongoing. But the first time I would say, hey, I need a bunch of emails. and then I put the emails in, and it was way better than me doing them by hand. Well, then you start to figure out, okay, I'm going to do a custom GPT, track my emails, track my follow-up emails, track my outreach emails, and track my texting, and let's make sure they're consistent thematically. So, so that's nice for consistency. If you're trying to keep a general theme of how you are going to approach people, keep it consistent across all your platforms. So that's really nice. Then you can do the same thing with, your social media marketing. If you are tracking, if you're doing paid ads and branded content, you want to try and make sure that everything stays a similar theme. It's really good at that. ChatGPT is great at that. So those are some of the things you can do there. I've also got some GPTs set up for performance tracking for LSPs. We put their stats in it, and we put their call recording in, and we'll have it grade their call recording. We had to put in what we consider good calls, and we had to come up with a score sheet, and it was really great. It took a lot of work, but it does work. So from that aspect, ChatGPT is great. If you're not a good writer, if you labor to put emails and stuff together, that part of it, it's flawless.
I love that. Like sometimes, if I'm writing something in a very emotional state, I might write it, ChatGPT, make this sound, more not angry, and it'll create, probably a much more appropriate email to send on that side. But I love how you're getting in depth to actually using it for scoring and sales, assessing the sales process and the conversations, how they handled objections, those sort of things with your sales team as well, is really, really awesome. So I love that. And I think a lot of people are like, man, I wish my team had like consistent sales training, or had the time to train them all the time, or evaluate what they're doing. But now that's becoming possible with like ChatGPT, and able to even role play with the ChatGPT as they get ready to hop on their calls for the day and stuff there too. So I love that.
I would guess we're less than a year away from you having a module on one of the AIs, and you upload all your scripts and all your objection handling, and it will AI train your people when they come on.
Yep. I think everybody's going to have a sales trainer in a box that they're going to be able to go through, and that the whole entire like entities like Allstate putting together maybe their like very standard one or something like that off of that too. So I'm very interested to see where it goes. And in fact, yeah, you're right. Stuff's moving lightning fast. So it'll be really interesting to see where stuff goes. I just saw someone who I think she was one of the C-suite execs. I'm not sure if she's CTO, like at OpenAI, and her new startup, I think, has got $2 billion in funding at a $10 billion valuation or higher. And they don't even have a product yet. They don't even know what the product's going to be, but here's all the money. You can figure it out from there. So obviously, stuff's moving quick and highly, highly valued. So I look forward to seeing where it goes. And on the like telemarketing side, you mentioned hiring a telemarketer directly instead of through a firm. How's that working, and what have you kind of seen as the advantages there?
The biggest advantage right now is cost. I can deal with him directly, pay him directly, work with him directly. With a little bit, there's some learning curve there. But you've got a guy that can knock out 500-600 calls a day. And I'm really aggressive, and I can't get more than 200 a day. So no, I do other things, but I don't know any in-house people that are getting more than that a day. Now he transfers them, so he's not spending a half hour on a quote. Yep. So it's going there, and it's been beneficial so far. I'd like to have it a little more, I'd like to get more out of it if I can. So we're working on that with him, and the only downside is the platform he's on. I can't hear his calls, so I can't hear what his objections are right now, but that's on the way. We're told within the next couple of months that's coming. So, and man, you know this better than I do. If you can help somebody with some of their objection handling, that contact rate that transfer rate goes way up. Yep. So that's kind of what we're excited about there. But it was, eye-opening. I mean, I didn't ever consider I would have a guy dialing for me from the Philippines, and he's, real responsive. You ask them to do something. You say, hey, jot down some of the people that are some of the objections you're getting, and if they're hanging up on them, there's not much you can do there. I mean, getting hung up on, what are you going to do? But he's real agreeable to everything, so it's been pretty great.
Yeah, I love it. We have 5 full-time team members from the Philippines ourselves. Absolutely incredible, and they have a whole culture together as well. And one's a husband and wife, and they help each other out, and they even meet up in person sometimes. So it's really cool culture on that side. And like you said, it makes a lot of business sense as well. So that's really awesome. Been able to leverage that side really successfully in the agency. And we talked about a little bit around AI. What other kind of modern tools, systems, have helped you grow faster without massive overhead that you found advantageous?
I guess I spent most of my time in ChatGPT recently, but I did start looking at some of the other AI applications with CapCut, and I've been playing with Gemini a little bit. So far, and it might be familiarity, I like GPT better. But if you need content, if you listen to you guys, if you listen to Alex Ramosi, and you need to create more content, okay, can I take one idea and get 4 or 5 pieces out of it? And ChatGPT is real good with it. They'll give you 5 scripts, but then getting it to something that I can post is a little different. So CapCut now has an AI module, and I've been playing with Sora and ChatGPT a little bit. That has not been real successful just yet, but that's still kind of a trial element of GPT. Have you played with it at all yet?
Not all of those, but I mean, CapCut, Opus, and a bit on Gemini, especially since it's already built into like my Gmail for summarizing long email threads or past history on stuff to be able to pick up where it left off. I mean, there's so many use cases. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see what all gets pulled together or acquired or built in one, because I don't think it's going to stay where there's like a million different tools and use cases of them, more so than pulling into one at some point to be able to help with a lot of things, or like a general use, and then you have a few specialty ones maybe. So it'll be interesting. They're all competing right now. So listen, I like competition because it's going to push to who can be the best and do the most, and it's going to be very, very quick like it is. So I like things moving fast and waiting for years for things to happen. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting.
There's some really smart people working on that stuff. So it is. It's crazy, some of the stuff that's coming out that it'll say it can do for you. So it's, the other day I was looking at some zip codes for some direct mailers and asked ChatGPT to analyze the zip codes. What's the average age of homes over here? What's the per capita income and all these? 15 minutes, I had all of it. So I dropped 3 zip codes that I was considering from there based off what I saw just from Chat. How long that would have taken me to do by myself?
Yeah. The amount of time it's helped save. I mean, yes, and for those that haven't played a lot with it or dove into a lot, no, this isn't just like, just drop a question in and get an answer. Like, the more I feed it, the more I train it, the better info I give it and what I want from it, then yes, I get really great results, really good analysis, saving a lot of time on things. But for people like, you just tell it to write you a post and you post the post. No, that's not how we're using or leveraging this. But yes, I can eventually train it to know what I know, like how I would frame it, my personality, and then it does come across very well. It just saves me a lot of time, and that's what you're doing. Like, right, that would take a lot of manual time, and now this has pulled that away. So it helps us be faster, more efficient in our businesses, and honestly be better, right? Because a lot of people that maybe struggle to be creative can now use ChatGPT of like, man, it'll take me like hours to think of those ideas. And those are great ideas. And I know the answers to them, so I can go make a video or a piece of content or an email around it. So I'm really excited about the advances on the tech side. But tech's not the only thing that's changing. It's actually user behavior and generations and responses. And you're noticing younger clients aren't picking up the phone maybe as much as they were. What are you doing to reach them, or seeing kind of happening with some of those shifts?
So I've been spending a lot of time in ChatGPT saying, okay, what is the next wave of things for my kids age 25 to 40? Where are they going? anecdotally, just talking to my daughters and listening to their friends, they search in ChatGPT. They don't go to Google anymore. So if you ask ChatGPT, all right, how do I make myself findable in ChatGPT? It'll write out a pretty good plan for you. And then you start working on that. You start putting that stuff together. But, I mentioned direct mail a little bit ago, and we've had a successful campaign this year, but I would guess my average respondent is 65 for direct mail. I should probably go pull all my sales by age and see where the people under 40 came from. So it'd be
that would be
might be eye opening.
Because that's kind of around your target market, right? Like, if I'm looking maybe like 45, 55, they own a home, they got a family, multiple cars, they have fun stuff like RVs or, four-wheelers or boats and other stuff I could possibly do. They're probably wanting to insure their kids, they're insure themselves, maybe get connected with their parents. Like, between all the things you offer and can help with, like, hey, that seems like, potentially the target market off of that. But yeah, if they're not answering phones, then how am I getting them and where am I bringing them from? Versus maybe this seniors, which answer the direct mail, but if they're now downsizing, moving into condos for their homes, or maybe not at 60 but older, maybe stopping to driving at some point and stuff like that. It's like, how do you get that target market if they're not answering the phones as much?
But if you watch a bunch of mid to late 20-somethings hanging around, if somebody dials them, they'll text them, what do you need?
Yep.
They're not answering the phone. They do not want to be stuck on the phone. So that hasn't, I don't know if it has upended insurance yet, but it's going to at some point.
I think people are already seeing the effects, and yeah, that's why they're leveraging things like social media, going like what sites are they hanging out on? Like, it's interesting to see a lot of search results. Yes, AI answers, but a lot of it's pulling from and returning results from things like Reddit, which a lot of people don't even know existed, a few years ago, but it's becoming more and more of a platform where I can go get answers and solutions from, or discussions around, topics I have questions on. So yeah, just user behavior. How do they think? Where do they hang out? How do they react to things? What do they find important? Just like any marketing 101 or psychology or sales, right? I need to know that, and it's different than our parents' generation, right? Like, and so it's shifting. So I'm really interested to see the shifts. And like you said, it's finding out, where do I reach them? How do I connect with them? And stuff's shifted maybe to text and these other areas for them and social media. So it's just changing. The core principles of business are still the same, still relationships, still solutions, still, obviously insurance needs, but how we go about it is what's changing. And it'll be interesting to see who adapts and who doesn't, right? As a part of that. And
if that's where your customers are, you better meet them there.
Yeah. Because where else are you going to get them, right? So it's at the end of the day, you can't bury the head in the sand and say, hey, this is the way things were. The business keeps rolling. And like you mentioned earlier, like from previously, hey, stuff's moving really quickly. I am either not willing to or just kind of done, and at the point where that makes sense to sell or transition out, right? Fantastic. But for those that are like, listen, I'm going to be in the game and be in the game a while, then cool. We got to keep up and we got to learn, right? And that's exciting.
Yeah, if you're planning on being in business the next 10 years, you better be comfortable with AI in some fashion.
Absolutely.
It's going to affect everything you're doing.
If you Gary V, you're throwing in people there with Alex Ramosi and stuff. Gary V is like, hey, listen, if you haven't spent at least 50 to 100 hours playing around, learning, implementing at least ChatGPT into things and learning AI, then you're already behind the game. And honestly, you might just be a little bit either one, stubborn of something that's going to cost you, like not adapting to the internet, for example, or just lazy, because honestly, there's no excuse not to go start using it, even if it's just personal life stuff. Like I use it to take pictures of food, track macros, all kinds of stuff, analyze what I need more of, less of. There's all a million use cases for it. But, think about something in your life, how can I integrate ChatGPT to either make this easier, faster, or I'm a big mixologist. I like make cocktails. I'll even have it name cocktails or help with recipes or other things like that. There's all kinds of those things. So,
yeah, I don't search anymore. I don't search for Google. I go to ChatGPT, find me this that fits in, and it does better than Google does. And but Google's going to adapt. They're way too far ahead of it to not get wiped out. But
they're already pulling AI results, and once again, this is like, how do I end up in these AI results? How is AI deciding who it shows for what, and all that sort of stuff? And there's just a different SEO's changed significantly, very quickly, and I have friends that have put it out of business almost overnight. Between it's no longer people going to sites for traffic. They'll either get ChatGPT answers, or Google will pull an AI answer from different sites for them, so they never click to go to the site. So if your site relied on traffic like e-commerce, yeah, you just lost all your business because no one's coming to your site anymore. They're just getting their answer where they wanted. And so stuff's changed, right? And gotta adapt. Speaking of, do you think that the quote and pray model is dying out, and stuff will be shifting around that?
Yeah, it's going. Your model's going to be inbound. Like we said, young people aren't answering direct mail. They're definitely not answering the phone. They may answer a text, but they're not going to go back and forth on the text. So, playing around with the different ideas, you better be there, and they better know you when it's their time and they have a question, right? Most people's pain point is their price on their insurance. That's what has most people shopping. But if you fill something out online, I call you, I get a quote, I got a good shot. But if I'm not filling stuff out, and you get your insurance bill and you go on ChatGPT, or okay, I see that guy on Facebook all the time, I'll reach out to him. But it's going to be on their terms, I think.
And I think the people that have been paying attention have been seeing that shift over the years, that millennial, Gen Z, like moving into choosing who they're working with, or getting referred to that, versus just whoever happened to get to them first or try to reach out on a call to them. And I think with the rise, not just those generations, but with the rise of tech and AI and a lot of these things where it's like, what can I trust and what's even real or not real? I'll give you an example. Last night, and they may kill me for this, but I showed a video off of TikTok to Elle first, and it was of these dogs on diving boards doing Olympic diving and jumping off and doing flips and landing in the pool. And the very first dog, while it's doing some flips, looks just enough of like, oh, that's crazy. Wait a second. And by the end of it, you're like, okay, hold up. And then by the time the next dogs go and you got a Chihuahua doing a backflip and other stuff, you're like, okay, this is obviously AI, of course, or whatever. But I went and took it to Amy, Elle's mom, and showed her. And once again, the very first one, she's like, that's great. Wait a second. By then. So more and more as this comes about, the importance of trust and connection and rapport, and who am I working with? Are they real? How do I know that, trust them, and make that decision to work with them is changing. And so in a world where anybody hit up with a call, it could be a complete AI robot calling me, trying to grab my voice for doing AI recreations of my voice.
Right.
Like the trust factor is now becoming so key, and it will continue to be. So yes, having people come inbound to you from social, or from seeing you even locally, or being referred from trusted people they already do business with to you, I think will become even more important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That I saw those dogs the other day. I was cracking up. It's so funny. And somebody did a bunch of samurai cats.
Yep.
And you can't stop laughing, and it's absurd, but it's so good.
It's so good. The little baby, versions of like comedians, little baby Theo Vaughn or baby Joe Rogan's or whatever, and stuff. Like, I love the baby. We've done some of our own baby videos, and they were very popular. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a different way of doing content. But once again, that human aspect, that trust aspect, is key. And so I love that that's something you're already putting time, energy, and thought to, the behaviors, the trust, and how do I adapt and shift? And so yeah, you bought the book, you're growing it, you're putting these things in place, you're adapting, you're shifting. What's been some of those keys to that growth, and some of the best things that are kind of working right now for you?
Right now, the dialing is still working, but it's not working quite as well. So it's, for the amount of calls we were putting out, I would have expected higher quote rates, higher sales. Still working. We're still dialing. So the adaptation was, okay, we're going to double the amount of dials we have putting out, but I don't think that's the long-term adaptation. But it's the first thing you can do now. what's working, can I scale it, how far can I scale it, when is it going to be when are you outscaled? I can't get a guy to make 10,000 calls a day. There's just not enough names. There's not enough guys. So that's going to be over at some point. I don't know when, I don't know how soon, but we've re-geared a few times on the online branding, the Facebook branding, trying to get good at that. You've helped us a lot on that with, I'm real reluctant on that stuff. I've been hesitant to do a lot of it. So, we've been doing more, the update posts have gotten me a handful of sales, it's kind of inform, educate, recommend. Hey, you married, you got 2 kids driving, they're under 21. So you got a home, 4 cars, talk to us. We've been helping a lot of people. That gets us over. It's not hey, I can get you $39 a month insurance, that ticks everybody off. So I've got to do more of that, and we're, going through ChatGPT and probably overdoing it. I've got spreadsheets with each type of thing I want to do. Well, then I get so bogged down in creating, I don't ever post. So that's kind of the next thing to overcome there, where you do something and by the time you've edited something 7 or 8 times, you hate it.
So I don't edit. I just don't post. So I honestly don't edit. I mean, I have a team that on some of our content, does editing and stuff. But like if I'm doing a piece myself and putting it out, it's filmed, posted. I don't even rewatch it or listen to it because, you get in your head, you overthink things, you don't take the action, and it's a piece of content that lasts for like 24 hours before people are ready for the next piece. And so it's, it's that efficiency. We're perfectionists, right? We like perfection. We like things, but also we realize that's not really how social isn't looking for perfection. In fact, people like seeing the imperfectness and the real part of it as well. And especially with AI, where things can look very perfect, I think it's going to reward you even more of just out and who you are personally. Right. And honestly, that's some of the stuff I see shift. Like if the same level activities were put into social as maybe we do on the dialing and some of these things, it would be really interesting. And then it comes down to like, well, how do I do that level of activity? With dialing, I can have a progressive dialer if it's allowed for what I'm doing and all that kind of things, and can get a lot of calls. But on social, I'll have to talk with you at some point. There's more pieces of technology coming out where I can pull specific audiences from social, from either groups or connections and other things, and now has AI built in for my own personal messenger, can start already knowing about my business and AI to have the conversations, move them to booked appointments and things off of this. So I could do this at scale and high levels of volume that maybe I wouldn't manually be able to go do and stuff there. So I see that being some of the shifts to where it can still be me, my personality, but it's not me having to constantly be there for every conversation. I can do this for a lot, where I put a piece of content out, I build rapport, I build trust, I have my messaging, people are connecting with me, and now this is starting to talk with them and get them into the actual appointments with me, which it'll be me physically on the appointment with them, of course, but the stuff leading up to that being a set appointment, this is where AI can start coming in and helping a bunch. So,
when something's funny, I watched you for 4 or 5 months before I did anything. So it just occurred to me, I was like, he did put up a lot. I watched him for a long time before I reached out.
I had someone this morning that's been in our group, watched me for 5 years, and is now ready to work with us. Right. So now, do I like normally a 5-year sales process? No, but but that's once again why it's a pipeline. Like they're not the only person that's coming through. I have plenty of people that are ready today or next week or after a few weeks or a few months, like you. But then you have the people that listen, they're just exposed. I don't have a need right now, or maybe I'm just I'm thinking about getting in the industry, or I've been here a little bit, but down the road. And that pipeline consistently has people knowing, trusting, and coming through. And that's why I love talking about it, because on social, a lead is never dead until they're not on the platform anymore or dead, because they're constantly able to see content. I've had my record, I think, is 4 years of no contact from the previous contact to being, ready to work with you. It's where were you for 4 years? Oh, I was watching your stuff. I just didn't say anything or comment or react to any of it. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so it was working for me. I just didn't know, right? So people are watching, guys. Even if you don't get a ton of reactions, likes, or everything on your stuff, people are paying attention and watching. And usually it's sometimes the least, another, friend of ours, marketer, he's like, Facebook sometimes has some of my least engagement, but my highest conversions of everything. So people are watching and they don't maybe say anything, and then they just reach out when they're ready to move forward or work with me. And so I think that's something to keep in mind too. It's not the vanity metrics that matter. You don't care how many likes you get. You care how many people reached out, wanted to talk with me, got quotes, and put policies in place. And that's what we ultimately really care about, of course, right?
Yeah.
And
When you put out that
helping the client, right?
when you put that first reel out, you got 132 views. You're like, the world hates me. It's fine.
Well, I think Elle did a piece of content that put it in reality, right? Like it's showing a room of 10 people, a room of 50 people, a room of 100 people, and a room of 1,000. And people are like, oh, only 100 and something saw it. And you're like, how often do I have 130 people see me each day? I don't.
Right.
I go in the office and maybe I get a few people on the phone. But if I was out in public and had 100 people, 30 people see me talking for a little bit or whatever, we'd be like, man, that was great. That was me talking at a
great
conference.
day.
That would be great. And so it's that perspective a little bit, like where else can I go have a whole bunch of people see me every single day, even if that whole bunch is 100 or whatever, it's still way more than a business would have, really seeing them each day outside of social, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something to keep in mind for a lot. So
yeah, that was a good one. I remember that. That was a real good one.
Yeah, and like I think it's good to keep in mind, right? Like it's progressive and it's building as we get more and more views, more and more audience. But if I have 100 people see me a day for a month, that's 3,000 people that, if my math is right, 3,000 people that month that I was exposed to and got in front of and saw me, got indoctrinated or nurtured, or like, oh, I've seen Aaron pop up a few times, right? And that's a huge opportunity, right? And so, especially as we grow and expand that. So, what's something that you would say to someone trying to grow without ballooning their overhead, right? Like I know data, metrics, profitability, all things you pay very close attention to. But when you take that in mind, like, hey, what are some things that can help me grow without maybe stacking on a ton to the overhead?
You're going to need referrals or inbound. I can't think of another way to do it without a pretty good referral program, kind of like Trista's, or, inbound. You've got to be, and now we're back to Hermosi and Vaynerchuk and you guys, and you need to get that stuff coming into you, because otherwise you're buying your leads. And, I made a mistake early. Oh man, I can buy age leads. These are, pennies on the dollar. Okay. And it's a lower contact rate, but you got to pay someone to dial them all, and, you get millennials now, they're not going to get told no 400 times a day. They just aren't going to do it. They're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
We have fragile egos, okay? We don't like rejection.
Yeah, who does? But, I don't blame them. So it's, but yeah, you're going to have your referral process set up, and, which we've started a referral process plan, and it's in place, but I didn't want to roll it out until I was ready to give it attention every week. I think that's a mistake I have, is I have too many plans, and then you got your plates spinning, you can't get back to them, you have plates crashing. So you're better off waiting until those are ready to go. So, but I've got some good ideas on that, I think.
Executing one at a time, right? And trying to do a whole bunch of things at once is key. And coming back to millennial, Gen Z is not making fun. And I was kind of joking when I talked about the handling rejection. I think there's maybe a little truth to that, but I would say something that frustrates millennial and Gen Z probably the most is efficiency and what makes sense, and the dialing when it's like, well, is there a more efficient way to do this that gets results and also maybe is even fun or feels good, comes into mind. Because it'd be like sitting there doing math on paper and writing all this stuff down when you can see a calculator right next to it and be like, why am I doing? Yes, it works, but it just takes way more time. Why don't I just use this calculator that's right here? And the teachers lied to us, man. When I was in school, you'll never have a calculator in your pocket or all around. Now I do, right? They lied, right. And it's, so anyways.
It's on my watch, on my phone. It's on my everything, yeah.
I'm being facetious, but a lot of things we couldn't have imagined are now real. And with AI, those same things are going to, be transitioning to. So I think it's really interesting there. But
oh yeah, 100%.
so, well, last question here. What's something most agents sorry, if you were starting from scratch again, what would you do differently in your first 90 days?
I think I would master my core processes first. My follow up, my cadences, my scripting, my overcoming my objections. I would set the time aside to not sell until those were perfect, and then I would be 8 months ahead. Because even now I still miss stuff on my scripts, and I watch them all the time. I watch the training videos all the time, and I forget stuff. It's not automatic. Coming out of the trades, I had 30 years of that experience, and you don't miss. So I would have, if I was new to it, I would have drilled into that a lot harder.
I love it. And thank you so much for taking some time and hopping on with us. We look forward to having you back and really talking through a lot of these key things. For those that are looking to connect with you, where's the best way for them to connect, follow you, or plug into what you're doing?
Facebook, just Aaron Simac on Facebook. Send me a friend request, whatever you're doing, and we'll follow it and follow what you're doing, and just connect that way.
I love it. Guys, so once again, if you go to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast, you can find all the show notes, all the goodies we put together, as well as how to get in contact with Aaron. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Modern Insurance Agents podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, David. Say hi to Elle.